Okay, so it's a real stucco house, which means it's concrete.
Uh-huh.
But what they've done is, and this is common in older homes, I think it's a 2004, right? Something like that from what I can tell. I don't know what it is, but it's probably older. They've run the concrete stucco all the way down to the dirt.
Uh-huh.
Nowadays, if you look on the house next door, you can actually see
Right.
it's off the ground, which is good because it means insects can't get behind there, and it
Right.
also means water doesn't get behind there and go up. So this, what's happening here, and you'll see it in a few places around the house, is water's falling down here, and especially because there's no gutters, so all the water falls here, and a lot of it is splashback onto the wall. So it'll wet this outside layer, which is more like a paint sort of a thing, and then it'll start flaking off. So it's basically a maintenance issue. The water's up about this high. It's wet, but it's concrete, so big deal. There's a water vapor barrier behind it, so you just realize, and you see on the other side of the house, this is happening. It's more of a cosmetic issue than anything else. However, at the bottom here, because it's a water managed system, the water gets, if it gets behind the concrete, there's a vapor barrier, and the water runs down that and out the bottom, which is why they put little plastic beads at the bottom that allow the water to come out. But they haven't put any there. Now, whether that's an issue or not, you'd have to get like a stucco specialist guy in and say, look, there's probably hundreds of houses built like this and they're fine, but I'm like a general practitioner. If you've got a knee problem, I'm sending you to a knee doctor.
Right.
And you can see along this side, they've actually done repairs. They've actually had to fix it up. So after a while, that's sort of what you're gonna have to do, because it'll keep wicking up and
Cracking.
yeah. These little cracks here, and that you'll see, these are normal in stucco concrete cracks. It's just the way it is. You don't have to really worry about them until they get a bit bigger, and then you can find a genuine stucco patching thing. But I mean, paint would cover that.
There's a lot of cracks along there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of normal. The water getting there is not going to help either. But I'd say the biggest concern I found so far is this area, right there.
Yeah, I see where it's
In the valley.
patched in.
Yeah, so what's happening is all the water from basically a large part of the roof is coming down here, and then you can see of it this side, they've already had to repair it.
Right.
Because what's happening?
I'm sorry.
What's happening here is a whole bunch of water is running down and hitting that corner, and they didn't cut it's supposed to be like 2 inches off. They're supposed to cut the stucco up so that anything that hits the wall hits the flashing, the metal behind it, and it's not a problem, especially
Right.
if you've got a drip screed, but they didn't put one in. So what happened there is it looks like they've been up there and repaired it. They've put a piece of flashing, that ugly metal thing there,
Yeah.
and then this thing there, that metal sticking out, is called a diverter or a kick-out flashing. It pushes the water away from the wall so it doesn't go behind the wall. Unfortunately, this side, that hasn't happened. And that cracking there is actually, I think, from water. So if you put a moisture meter on a wall, 20 is a correct reading for concrete. But you can see this paint here is a slightly different color.
Right.
And you put the moisture on there and it's like 70%, 80%. And then it's elevated all the way down.
So
Now,
that's all wet there.
that's what this thing's saying. You never know until you take this thing apart or until we look inside. Maybe the moisture meter will tell us, or the infrared will tell us something. But some of these things, you pull them apart and it's fine. Some of them you pull them apart and the framing's just falling off. No way to tell, unfortunately. Okay, now here at the back of the house, this little bay window, I don't know if you can see it well, but these shingles here have all been replaced. And you'll see in the report, the ridge shingles, the ones like that, looks like they reused the old ones and they didn't stick them down. It's just a bad design because the water coming down there can go under those ridge shingles,
Right.
and I don't know if they flashed underneath there. So again, I'll have a look. It may not be a big deal, but they should at least stick those shingles down because they're not really holding, nothing's really holding them on very well except the ends. And the wind comes this way, it's going to tear them off. But I'll look inside in the attic and see if we can see what's going on there. There's probably some damage, otherwise I wouldn't have bothered replacing it. If it's dry now, okay, fine. But if it's not, then they're going to have to get back on it. Okay, here we're going to look at more of the issues with the stucco below grade. You'll notice there's no gutters, and there's a bit of a ridge in the dirt here. Hard to see in the video, but now if we put the moisture meter on, it's reading about 20, but here at the bottom it's reading, in the 50s. Partly because it's wicking it up from the rain or the dirt being wet.
Yeah, and
It
it's just
sucks
sucking
it up. And partly because when the rain comes down, it hits the ground and some of it splashes back on. So it's pretty common in houses that have this and no gutters.
So this here, I mean, to fix that, he would probably have to put cement all the way around it, huh?
Easiest way to fix it is gutters.
Gutters?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, because this is really a maintenance issue. You got little pieces of missing stucco, and it'll keep discoloring like that. It's because it's wet. The moss is going to grow on it. I mean, it's largely cosmetic, this part.
Yeah.
So, what's going on now? Another symptom of the water splashback is these little bubbles. Some water will get trapped underneath there when it sucks up, and it'll loosen up the outer layer, the final layer of the stucco. So that'll eventually peel off and be the same as around the other side.